Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the NFL Contest Show here on Dead Money Sports. It is the Week 14 Circa Millions Picks Release Show. Coming to you a little bit early this week since we've got our 5 selections already decided. Figured we'd release it. This week we are going to be fading teams that I believe are going to be very popular in the contest this week. We're going to look to fade the top 5, look to go for some contrarian picks with some quality teams, and hope that we can get ourselves back into contention for the money. Obviously, we've been struggling over the last 2 weeks, back-to-back 2 and 3s. 11-9 in the third quarter, 36-29 overall on the year. So 4 points outside of the paid positions as it stands with 5 weeks to go. And this also kicks off the fourth quarter of the contest. This is a 5-week quarter. So we've got the last 5 weeks of the season to try to not only get ourselves in a paid position for the overall season, but also to potentially get us a quarterly prize to add to any money we may win this year. So, gonna jump right into it with our selections. And my first pick for week 14 of the NFL contest is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, laying 8.5 at home against the New Orleans Saints. We were on the Saints last week. Somehow they got the backdoor cover, but it took all kinds of just bad play by the Dolphins, particularly Tua, not being able to convert on third downs, and some turnover luck that gave them an opportunity to get back in that game. They had to recover an onside kick just to get down there and score the touchdown that gave them a chance to go for 2 to tie the game. But I just don't see all that luck coming. I think they probably emptied the tank in that game against Miami in that comeback. And I just don't know how much the Saints team's going to have left to go into this game on the road against a very determined Bucs team. They're very healthy on defense. Todd Bowles is good against rookie quarterbacks. And the offense for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think, is going to be able to expose this Saints defense. The passing game for Tampa Bay, they should be able to move the ball. They should be able to run the ball. The offensive line for the Bucs is as healthy as it's been in a while, and they should be able to run the ball now that they've got Bucky Irving back and Rachaad White. So they've got a 1-2 punch in the backfield. They've got an outstanding offensive line that can protect the quarterback. They've got wide receivers. It looks like Evans and I know Evans isn't playing, and one of the other receivers that was out isn't playing. But you still have Egabuke, you still have Godwin, you still have Kate Otten at tight end, you still have Tez Johnson, you still have Sterling. So they've got the firepower on offense to put up points in this game, and I think this is going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be 31-17. I think Tampa Bay wins this one easily. I don't think Tyler Shuck in this offense for the Saints is going to do much. They really weren't impressive in that game against Miami. They were very lucky in some instances to score. Kamara is probably not going to play. Olave is questionable. He was questionable last week, but the further you get into the season, you know, the more you don't want to risk your key guys being seriously injured. That will affect them next year. So he may sit until he's 100%. If he does play, how effective is he really going to be? I just have no faith in this Saints offense after what I saw last week, even with them making a dramatic comeback against Miami. It was Miami's offense really let them down in that game. And I'm just going to take the Bucs minus the 8. I don't think this is going to be very popular in the contest, as people in this contest tend to steer away from the games with the higher spreads, go more towards the games with 3 or 2.5, which we have plenty of those options. Plus 8.5 or minus 8.5 is the biggest spread this week. There's 2 games with a minus 8.5, 1 game with a minus 7.5. and then there's a -7, and then there's a bunch that are 3s, 2.5s, 4.5s, 1.5. So I think you're not going to see a lot of interest in this game, as people will gravitate more towards not only the lower spreads, but also the more popular matchups that we have this week, because we've got some great games with real playoff implications in this week 14. We already saw one on Thursday night where we dodged a bullet because I posted on X. I literally had the app open with my lineup selected with Dallas +3 as one of the teams. And I said, no, I know I'm not 100% confident in this game, and I'm not 100% confident in my other 4 selections, so I left it alone. Thank goodness I did, because Detroit was able to get the win and cover the spread, moving themselves into a much better position to make the playoffs. I believe on the broadcast it said they have a 55% chance to make the playoffs after winning. Dallas now has a 9% chance of making the playoffs after losing that game. So that was essentially a playoff game in Thursday Night Football. And we've got several other of those games this week. We've got Steelers, Ravens, Bears, Packers, Texans, Chiefs, Eagles, Chargers. What else? Colts, Jags. So we've got several games this week that have real lasting playoff implications. And I think people are going to try to gravitate towards those games because, one, the lines are low. You've got 2 equally matched teams in those games, and they're the ones that people are going to want to watch, especially if they're out. If they're out of the contest, if they're not like in it, to cash in the full season, they're only competing for the fourth quarter prize. They're going to tend to steer away from the more difficult games to choose from and gravitate more towards the lower spreads. Give them a better chance to win and maybe get a good start to the fourth quarter of the Circa Million contest. So I'm going with the Bucks -8.5. I think this offense is better. I think this defense is better. I just don't have any faith in the Saints. I don't think they're going to do much after basically emptying the tank against Miami. So give me Tampa Bay -8 is my first pick in week 14. Next up, Indianapolis Colts -1.5. I am recording this on Friday. This one could potentially get swapped out, but I doubt it. And the reason why I'm picking the Colts -1.5, not only do I think they're a good team, which they are. I mean, they faced 2 very good teams. They faced the Kansas City Chiefs and the Houston Texans the last 2 weeks that they've lost. They're going on the road to face Jacksonville, where they have not had success, but that was prior coaching staffs, prior players. So those games really don't have much impact on this game right here. But the main reason why I'm taking the Colts -1.5 is I almost guarantee Jacksonville will be a top 5 pick. Jacksonville +1.5 will be in the top 5. So this is a contest play for me. I am taking a quality team with a good offensive line, good defensive line, good against the run. Sauce Gardner being out, it's not great, but their secondary, they got Charvarius Ward back. They got Kenny Moore back. They're good on defense. Steichen should have a good plan against this Jags team. I think the Jags are getting a little more credit for their win streak recently. They've been playing inferior competition, so they've looked better than maybe the team has actually been over that time. And everybody's going to be on the Jags. Everybody's going to be on the Jags. So this is a contest play for me. This is one of those where you have to take the other side in the contest, even though this isn't like the best bets thing. This is a straight up contest play. I'm going to take the Indianapolis Colts -1.5. Hope that Daniel Jones is able to get it done. He didn't have any turnovers against the Texans. They only had 1 sack against him. Everybody keeps talking about his mobility, and yes, he does have the leg injury, so he hasn't been as mobile as he has been, but he only got sacked once in that game against Houston, had 0 turnovers. I think the 4th down play early in that game played a factor in that one, and the secondary for Houston is just way better than the secondary that they're going to face against Jacksonville. So Pittman, Pierce, those guys Warren could certainly have big games. If this offensive line can keep Daniel Jones upright and Jonathan Taylor can get running, because he hasn't been the Jonathan Taylor we saw earlier in the year. If they can get over that 100-yard rushing mark, I think the Colts have a real chance of winning this game outright on the road and snapping that streak of losses in Jacksonville. So this is a contest play for me. Take that as you will. But a lot of people are going to be on Jacksonville because of the trends that the Colts haven't won in Jacksonville since like 2014. That they haven't looked great in their last two games, but they have faced two of the best teams defensively in the league, in the Kansas City Chiefs and the Houston Texans, and I don't think that's the caliber of defense they're going to face. And I think Jacksonville is just a little overrated off these couple of wins they've had against bad teams. So for my second pick, the contest play of the week, I am going with the Indianapolis Colts -1. Next up, the Denver Broncos -7.5. Now, we were on Washington that Sunday night game, and we were very fortunate to even get that cover. Washington had to score that touchdown on 4th down against this Broncos team just to get within the number. Now they're facing a Raiders team in Vegas. This is going to be a lot of Denver Broncos fans are going to be in that crowd. It'll be at least a 50-50 split, probably more than that, because there are a lot of people from Denver. They've got money, so they're going to fly out to Vegas. They're going to go to Vegas for the weekend and then go to the game. So the Broncos are going to have a large contingent of fans in Vegas. No, the Raiders are just bad. Their offensive line is bad. Max Crosby's now popped up on the injury report. He was a non-participant today. He could potentially be out for this game. I just don't know how the Raiders are going to score points against this defense. The pass rush, everybody saw them on Thursday night when they lost by 3 points, but I don't put a lot of faith in Thursday night games because those are very mediocre, very basic game plans that most of these teams go into those games with because they just don't have much prep time. Denver on this win streak, people are looking for a spot to fade them. They've won their last 4 games by 3 points or fewer. But I think they win this, and they win this comfortably. I have this as a 28-13 game. I think the Broncos offense is going to be able to move the ball. This offensive line, they're going to be able to run it on this bad defense for the Raiders. There's no fight left in this Raiders team. You're seeing this team lay down. Guys are just playing out the season, trying not to get injured, maybe put on some good tape, but it's not like they're going to have the fan base behind them in Vegas to keep them motivated in this game. So if the Broncos jump out on them, you could certainly see them just fold up the tent and call it a day because the season's over for the Raiders. They're eliminated from the playoffs. They're not making the playoffs, and they are just a bad team. Their offensive line is bad, and it's gotten even worse. They lost more guys. They can't run the ball. They have one good receiver in Brock Bowers, but the Broncos can rush the passer. They can get pressure on the quarterback. They can cause Geno Smith to commit some turnovers in this game, and I just think the Broncos are finally going to get one of those wins convincingly as opposed to just winning by 3 points or fewer, which they've done over the last, I believe their last 4 wins. So give me, I keep popping the mic. I got to put this on there. So give me the Broncos minus the 7.5 in Vegas, taking on the Raiders as my third pick in Week 14 of the NFL Circa Million contest. Another contest play with a quality team. The Green Bay Packers minus 6.5 taking on Chicago at home. Looks like it's going to be cold weather. Chicago has been one of the more lucky teams. They've played a very weak schedule according to the strength of schedule. Their defense does not get pressure. They're one of the lowest teams in sack rates and pressure rates on the quarterback. They've been living off turnovers. Well, Jordan Love in a clean pocket is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's only got 3 interceptions on the year. So I don't see the Chicago Bears getting that turnover differential that's been so key to this win streak that they've been on. I know they can run the ball, but they're down Odunze, one of their best wide receivers, which is going to change the dynamic of this offense. They may have to lean on the run a little bit more. Whether or not the Green Bay Packers defense can stop this outside zone run, we're going to see. But I have faith in LaFleur. We know that Jordan Love, over his career, has been much better against the spread in the second half of the season than he has been in the first half of the season. So we're rolling into the part of the year where Jordan Love seems to excel as a quarterback, going up against a defense that I think is a little overrated because of their turnovers, but I don't think they're going to have that kind of turnover luck in this game against a team that seemed to protect the ball pretty well throughout the year. You've got a great passing offense. I think they can expose this Chicago Bears team on defense, and if they get out ahead and they force them to have to throw the ball as opposed to being able to run the ball the way they want to, they could change the game script for Chicago, which does not bode well for Caleb Williams, who I believe has a below 60% completion rate on the year and has been winning with a lot of off-platform plays that may not work. And we've got the NASCAR team on defense for Green Bay in the fourth quarter with Micah Parsons, and that pass rush can shut teams down once they have a lead late in games. They don't allow these teams to come back. They can get pressure on the quarterback with their four and keep their guys back in coverage, taking away the passing lanes and forcing teams into mistakes. So this is also a contest play because everybody's going to be on Chicago. Chicago is going to be probably the most popular selection this week. If they're not the most popular side, it's probably going to be Jacksonville or maybe even Washington now that Jaden Daniels has been announced back in the game that he's playing this week. So this is another contest play for me where I'm just going to fade this Chicago Bears team that is getting a lot of love from the public after this win streak that they've been on. And with the number being set as high as it is, everybody's going to jump on this Chicago plus 6.5 number, feeling like this is just too many points to be laying for the Green Bay Packers. So I'm going to take the Packers, hope for the best. They're at home in Lambeau. It's supposed to be cold weather. Maybe it affects the way Caleb Williams plays. We'll see. But I'm going to take Green Bay minus the 6.5 as my fourth pick. And the last selection is the Los Angeles Rams minus 8.5 going on the road against the Arizona Cardinals. Rams lost a tough game against the Carolina Panthers on the road last week. Now they've got to travel on the road for another game, but I'm not buying into the Jacoby Brissett narrative anymore. Yeah, he looked good the first couple of weeks that he was playing in place of Kyler Murray, but we've seen him start to regress. They're going to be without Marvin Harrison Jr. I believe some of their offensive linemen may be out for this game, and I think you're going to see a very, very pissed off Rams team come out and just try to put it on this Cardinals team and leave no doubt about, who's the number one team in the NFL. And this is also a division game, so it really matters when you've got Seattle and the San Francisco 49ers right on their tail for the NFC West division. So they could literally go from leading and being I think they're number 2 behind Chicago, but being right in a position to getting that number 1 seed in the bye, potentially not even winning the division and having to play a wild card game on the road. So this game really matters when it comes to division wins. I think you're going to get the best version of the LA Rams. Matthew Stafford was protecting the ball all year and then had an outlier game where there's some tip passes that got intercepted against Carolina that really cost them in that game. I don't think they're going to have the same turnover bad luck that they had. I think we're going to go right back to seeing the Matthew Stafford, who was the leader for the MVP prior to that game against Carolina. And I just think you're going to see the Cardinals start to, cash it in. Jacoby Brissett, you're going to see him under pressure with this pass rush by the Rams. He can, if he's under pressure, he makes mistakes. You could certainly see some turnovers that lead to short fields or even points for the Rams that allow them to cover this number. So I have this as a 28-14 game. I think the Rams win it and win it easily, cover this big number. And again, this is another one of those spreads that people are going to steer clear from. And if they do take a side, they're probably going to take the Cardinals plus the 8.5 because it's easier to take the points with a home team than it is to lay a big number on the road. So I'm going to take the more difficult side here with the better team. I'm going to take the Rams minus 8.5 as my fifth and final selection for week 14 of the Circa Million contest. So to recap, we've got the Tampa Bay Bucks minus 8.5, laying big numbers this week, just so you know. The Colts minus 1.5, our contest play of the week. This is a direct fade on Jacksonville, which I believe will be potentially the number one, or not, it'll be at least 1 through 3. I think Jacksonville will be in the top 5. Washington could potentially be the number 1 pick now that the line has moved drastically. The Denver Broncos minus 7.5. People are going to remember that Thursday night game where they only won by 3 against the Raiders, but don't buy into it. The Broncos are a much better team. The Raiders are a team in total disarray, has no offense, has no defense. The Broncos are one of the best teams in the NFL, have one of the best pass rushes and one of the best offensive lines. This is a battle in the trenches, and the Broncos are going to win this game easily. Another contest play, the Green Bay Packers minus 6.5. Everybody's going to be on Chicago. Everybody's going to take the points with Chicago. So we are going to take Green Bay in a direct fade of what I believe will be a top 5 selection in this week's Circa Millions picks, which we will be having the selection show on Saturday during the Big Ten championship game between number 1 Ohio State and number 2 Indiana. So we will have the selection show starting at 6 o'clock on on Saturday. The game starts at 5, so we will post on X our bets for that game, and we will also have the contest selection show for week 14 of the Circa Million contest and Survivor, where there's only 45 entries remaining. And our fifth and final pick is the Los Angeles Rams on the road, minus 8.5 against the Arizona Cardinals. Again, this is taking a team that will probably not be very popular as far as the top 5 consensus. And I believe actually Arizona with the 8.5 will be the more popular side as people will look to take the points with a team at home. But I'm not buying it. I believe the Rams are a much better team, and I'm willing to lay the big number with them. Well, to everyone, hopefully we have a 5-0 week to start the fourth quarter and get ourselves right back up there in a fighting chance with 4 weeks remaining after week 14 to make the money. We are sitting at 36-29, just 4 points behind the paid positions after a very difficult 2 weeks going 2-3, especially when last week, if you watched the show, I swapped out Buffalo for the New York Giants on the show. Had I stuck with it, we'd at least had a 3-2 as Buffalo was able to cover the spread against the Steelers, and New York Giants lost in a miserable performance against the New England Patriots. Well, to everyone out there, hopefully you enjoy the college football on Saturday, the NFL football on Sunday. Let's win some bets and make some money, and be sure to take care of yourselves out there and have a good weekend.